Although fans were eagerly awaiting Pacific Rim 3, which was reportedly in development, Legendary Pictures threw a curveball and decided to go the prequel route with a series instead. The show has been officially announced. The studio brought on Eric Heiserer, the writer behind Bird Box and Arrival. The plot is set to be an origin story, likely detailing the events leading up to the opening of the interdimensional rift in the ocean that allowed towering kaijus to enter our reality. In Guillermo del Toro's first movie and its sequel, the rift is already a fact of life, so this prequel is expected to explore what exactly happened, and more interestingly, how it all went down when that gateway to a world of massive monsters first opened. It's worth noting that back in 2013, a Pacific Rim comic series titled Tales from Year Zero was released. Written by Pacific Rim screenwriter Travis Beacham with Del Toro's direct supervision, it told the story of the early years after the kaiju invasion began and the creation of the Jaeger program to battle them. Those events also take place before the main storyline. The Year Zero plot is divided into several parts, each focusing on key characters and pivotal events. This concept could easily translate into a successful series, potentially turning it into an anthology of sorts. In the comic, Dr. Schoenfeld and General Hubert meet with reporter Naomi Sokolov, who's conducting interviews to gather all the dirt on the Jaeger project. Through these interviews, all the crucial details about humanity's early fight against the kaiju come to light. Essentially, Legendary could take this route for the series, giving it a true detective vibe where different narrators reveal the full origin story from their perspectives. Another major player in the comic is Stacker Pentecost, who's showcased during his early experiences in the first wave of the kaiju conflict. He leads a military unit trying to take on monsters with conventional weapons, only to realize how utterly useless they are. It becomes glaringly obvious that humanity needs a much bigger gun to tackle this growing threat. The second part of the story switches gears to Dr. Schoenfeld, one of the masterminds behind the Jaeger program. He's critical in developing the giant robots that would eventually be piloted by humans using neural links. This section digs into the technical headaches and sheer struggles the scientists faced while trying to create these advanced machines. The final act of the comic zeroes in on a young Mako Mori who survives a brutal kaiju attack on Tokyo. The attack wipes out her family and levels the city, but Stacker Pentecost saves her, marking a turning point in both their lives. Her traumatic past plays a huge role in shaping her character and influences the main storyline in the first movie. Tales from Year Zero also highlights the first successful Jaeger engagements with the kaiju, climaxing in a major victory after years of setbacks, development, and testing. Legendary could potentially tap into unused drafts from Del Toro's original vision. After the first movie's release, the director had laid out enough material for 5 films, including extensive backstories for the Jaeger program and the interdimensional rift. While some of these ideas were scrapped or shifted to comic book form, it's possible that the prequel series will finally explore concepts that were initially too ambitious for the big screen. This could include a deeper dive into the political and scientific struggles of building the Jaeger program or the early warning signs of the kaiju threat that were ignored by world leaders. Another angle that could be explored is the involvement of rival nations in the early Jaegers, hinting at global tensions that predated the full-scale invasion. There's also the question of how much of this prequel will be influenced by Del Toro's original darker tone and aesthetic, something that fans felt was lost in Uprising. If the showrunners want to win back the fan base, they'll need to ensure that the show retains the gritty, more natural feel of the first movie. The kaiju need to feel terrifying again, and the Jaegers should be portrayed as last-ditch efforts, not flashy superhero machines. Additionally, if any familiar characters from the original or comic lore appear, the casting will be crucial, especially for younger versions of key figures like Stacker Pentecost. Fans won't settle for anything less than a solid portrayal that honors the legacy of the characters without feeling like cheap imitations. For instance, Pentecost was played by Idris Elba back in 2013, over a decade ago. To portray a younger version of his character, studios need a different actor. Or the showrunners might decide to ditch the comic book storyline altogether and write their own script. Guillermo del Toro's involvement hasn't been confirmed, but I'd bet he'll take on a producer role and contribute some ideas. According to del Toro's original vision, he planned to unravel the backstory of the kaiju invasion in the second movie, with the third film showcasing an epic final showdown in the Antiverse. But Warner Brothers and Legendary politely ditched his plans and handed the sequel over to Stephen DeKnight. Uprising fell flat, failing to capture the magic of the original. Visually, it went in a completely different direction, and fans were not thrilled with the shift. Now, instead of the third movie we were supposed to get, we're looking at a prequel series. Whether that's a good thing or just another misstep will only be clear after the first season drops. Stay tuned.